Gingside.com. Hello, I'm Professor Chris Ferguson. Before we get too deep into this course, let's go ahead and do a video on Am I Done with Lesson 1? You can see here on the button bar that I am currently on Lesson 2. It's Video 2, Lecture 2, Homework 2, Exercise 2. That means I've taken quiz number 1, and when you take quiz number 1, you advance to Lesson 2. But before we go much farther, let's go ahead and make sure that we're done with lesson 1. As you can see from these buttons, each lesson is broken up into pieces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces here. And do this button bar left to right. So you watch the videos first, then you read the lecture, then you do the homework, then you do the exercise, then you do the lab. And when you think you're done with lesson 2, you should take quiz 2, and taking quiz 2 will advance you to lesson 3. You must have done that for lesson 1, right? Because you're on lesson 2 here. So what I want to do is go back and check lesson 1, and I want you to check your screen and your lesson 1 to see how it's going. First thing I want to show you is these drop-down menus across the top. Now that I'm on lesson 2, I can choose between the videos for lesson 2 and the videos for lesson 1. If there's something that I skipped in lesson 1, I can always go back to these drop-down menus and say go back and view an old video. Same thing with the lecture. As we progress through the lessons, past lectures will be available on this drop-down menu. If I need to go back and check out lecture number 1, I can easily go back and check out lesson number 1. See this back to your lesson plan link here at the top? There's one at the bottom also. That'll take you back to your main screen. Now these menus are here so you can go back and finish things. If there was a video that you forgot to watch, please go back and watch it. If there's something from the previous lecture you wanted to see, go back and look at it. As far as am I done with lesson 1? You can see when I pull down the homework menu, a homework is a graded assignment. As you saw in lesson 1, there are 5 possible points that you can get on your homework 1. You'll notice here next to homework 1, there is a 3 in parentheses. What that's telling me is when I took homework 1, the highest or best score I got on homework 1 was a 3. You recall there were 5 questions on homework 1. So the high score would be 5 points, not 3 points. Here's the good news. You can take the homework again and you can try to get a higher score. If I go through here, a file cannot contain a mixture. That is false. HTML is a markup language. H is using the source equals. That is true. I'm going to skip 4 for now, and I'm going to look at this one. And you know what? I don't want to do this whole thing, but I'll go ahead and do 4 of these. I believe the answer to this one is Susie. Remember, the lecture always helps with your other assignments. One of the reasons I encourage you to read the lecture and be very careful about reading the lecture is there are sometimes some answers to it in the lecture. I'm just going to go grab something out of my lecture here that might help me with one of the homework problems. Now I'll purposely get this one wrong just because I don't want to give you all the answers and because I want to show you what happens. This time when I submitted homework 1, I got 4 out of 5. Now that does not stop me from going up and fixing the mistake I made here. I could fix this mistake and then submit the homework again and maybe get 5 out of 5. As long as you don't leave this page, you can go ahead and try to fix your incorrect answers. But what I really want to show you is, if I go back to my main screen and go back to looking at homework 1, notice I've got a 4 there now. That means I have a high score of 4 out of 5 on homework number 1. Now, do you absolutely have to get 5? No, you don't. I want you to get 5. You should try to get 5. But if you miss a problem here or there, it's not going to kill your grade. The goal here is to average above 90%. When you add up all the homework scores and the exercise scores and the quiz scores, if you keep your completion rate in the 90%, you'll get a lot of points for that. What I don't want to see here is 1s and 2s. You shouldn't give up on homework 1 after getting 1 out of 5. So at this point, you have a decision to make. Do you go back to homework 1 and try to get 5 out of 5, or do you continue on? I don't want to give you all the answers, so I'm going to continue on. Did I complete exercise number 1? If you see exercise number 1, there's a 4 there. Apparently, I got 4 exercises correct. So let me click on exercise 1 and go back and take a look at it. There's exercise 1. If you look, it says your total attempts at this exercise were 3, but your successful completions were just 2, and there's 3 required. To fully complete this exercise, I have to do it 3 times, not 2 times. So what I need to do is go back to exercise 1.1 and let's finish exercise 1.1. This is a real simple exercise, especially if you do a little copy and paste. I'm going to go back to my lecture and find our function that we've been dealing with in lesson 1 and make a copy of it. After making my copy, I'll go back to my exercise, paste it in there, do the change that it asked me to make, and voila, I should have my 3rd completed exercise. I see my success here at the top of the screen. I like that. And when I go back to this screen, look at that. Good job. Exercise completed. Future attempts are not required. Now that doesn't mean you can't go back to practice. Please, please don't think you never have to see this thing again. Especially when you're studying for exams, you're going to go back and retake this. But the minimum number of completions is now done. Exercise 1.1 is fully complete. What about exercise 1.2? Once again, 2 successes, 3 required. If I really want full credit, I need to go back and do this one more time. Once again, I have an HTML link this time. Well, if I need an HTML link, I'll go back and grab an HTML link from the lecture, bring it back here, and there's a couple of changes I have to make to this one. The first lesson is not meant to be hard. I'm not going to bust you on lesson 1. What I'm trying to reinforce here is that you read the lecture. There's lots of stuff in the lecture that will help you with the exercises and the homework. You need to watch the videos. There's lots of stuff in the videos that will help you with the exercise and the homework and the quiz for that matter. I want you to watch the videos, read the lecture, and then try the homeworks and exercises. And hopefully you'll remember the stuff that you need and you'll go back, review it in the lecture, review it in the video, and complete these exercises. Woohoo! I got that one right too. And again, when I come back to this screen, I've reached my 3 required. Turns out 6 is the maximum number you can get on the exercises. So if I look for my back to your lesson plan, that'll take me to the main screen again. And if I pull down my exercises, I have the 6 that I want. So currently I have 4 out of 5 on the homework. I have 6 out of 6 on the exercises. That's pretty good. Again, I don't have to be perfect. If there is a problem you can't do not stop. The number one mistake that students make, online students make, is they stop. Let's say they hit an exercise and they just can't do that exercise. Well, so what? Keep going. If you stop and wait 5 days before you can figure it out, you're going to fall behind. What I want you to do, if you can't do a homework problem, if you can't do an exercise, is keep going. Go on, do the lab, do the quiz. As you can see here, you can always go back and finish. As long as you get it done by the deadline, you're fine. As with the homework, you can do these exercises as many times as you want. If it takes you 5 tries, it takes you 5 tries. If it takes you 7 tries, it takes you 7 tries. What I don't want you to do is ever stop because you get stuck. Keep moving, keep progressing. If you need to go back and finish something later, you can. Next up is the lab. You'll notice there's no numbers here by the lab. The lab are web pages that we will be building. In lab number 1, let's go back to lab number 1, it asked you to start a web page. Basically a simple, easy web page. All we have to do is build one page, and all we're doing in Lab 1 is starting a web page. First of all, you can create some files on your computer to do it. It says for your assignment for web page number 1, I want you to build a simple headline, and on that put two links, one to jump to College 1 and one to jump to your outside web page that you're going to set up. Now, I've already started this lab, so what I'm going to do is show you what I've done so far. It says I want a headline for lab assignment 1. So I'm going to switch over to my text editor. And for this course, you can use any text editor you want. You're supposed to create two files, index.html for the HTML of the web page and student.js for the JavaScript of the web page. Once again, I'm not going to do the whole assignment. I've just built a simple version of it. But I want to stress here, these two files are on my computer. I went ahead and created a folder on my hard drive for this class. In that folder, I created my index.html file, and I also created my student.js file. You do not need to upload the code in order to test it. You can do it on your own computer. I'm going to switch over to a new tab on Firefox and show you what I mean. One of the reasons I like Firefox is it has a menu bar. If you click on the menu bar or at the top of the screen, you can see a pop-up menu shows up, and you can turn the menu bar off or you can turn the menu bar on. Under the menu bar, under File, there's an Open File option. See where it says Control O there? By the way, if you're on Chrome, Control O does the same thing. Open File says go and open a file on your hard drive. And guess what? There is my index.html file on my hard drive. I can open and view my web page for this class from my hard drive. Is this done? No. Once again, I'm not doing the whole assignment here, so you just copy what I did in this video. I've done it partially, but I do have my Lab 1 assignment, and if I go back to my lab web page here, it says I got to put this headline Lab 1 assignment on it. Now, it says I need two links. I need a link that jumps to college1.com, and I need a link to jump to my outside web page, the web page I set up on a host. Well, what I have here is just one link. I have the link to college1.com. Is it working? Well, how can I tell if it's working? I can go back to my web page, my open file on the web page, and I can click on College 1. There's the link. I'll hit cancel because I don't need to jump to College 1. I'm actually on College 1 right now. I have the one link. What else do I need to do? Well, clearly I need to add another link. So I'll go to my text editor and copy and paste the first link that's working pretty good and paste it there. What I need to do is I need to update this code here to make sure it jumps to my outside web page address. Once I have that updated, I'm pretty much done with this lab. You'll notice the script tags up here. I want all the JavaScript in a separate file called student.js. If I go over to student.js, you can see there is only JavaScript in this file. You do not put HTML in this file, you put JavaScript in this file. The .js file is for JavaScript. The HTML file is for the HTML. Now, how do you tell the difference? How do you tell the difference between HTML and JavaScript? A big hint is these less than and greater than signs. See these? These are called tags, sometimes called angle brackets. I call them less than and greater than signs. The HTML is the code that is in these angle brackets. You'll notice there's not a lot of angle brackets in here. So you should start to differentiate, right? You should be able to look at a piece of code and say, yeah, that's JavaScript. You should be able to look at a piece of code and say, you know what, that looks like HTML. Make sure that you put HTML in the .html file and you put the JavaScript in student.js. And what connects the two files? Well, in this case, it's that script tag right there. It says add this student.js file to my HTML, and that's why I call the function confirm link that is in the other file. Let's say I finish this. I'm not going to finish it because I don't want you copying my code directly, but let's say I finish it. What do I do now? At this point is when you go to your outside web page. At this point, there's two ways to do this. You can go to your outside web page and you can simply copy and paste. I'll copy this code here. I'll switch over to my outside web page, load it in its text editor, and I'll paste the code over there. The other thing you can do is upload the file. Now, many of you have used applications like Facebook, and you've created accounts there and you've uploaded things to Facebook. You can upload files directly to your outside web page, and it's up to you. Do you like to copy and paste the code over, or do you like to upload it? I'll leave that up to you. Same thing for student.js. But what I'm trying to get here, what I'm trying to get at here is the idea of you do your web page work on your own computer. You build your files for your web page on your own computer. Once you have tested it, once you have tried it out, let me go back to this. I'll hit reload. Ooh, look, I have two links on here. Oh, you know what? Let me fix that a little bit. I don't like the way that looks. Now, here's the advantage of working on your own computer. I don't have to upload and retest, upload and retest. I can click back to my text editor. Let's see, let's put a BR tag on here. And what the BR tag will do is break and start a new line. And I'll change this to outside page. I'm not quite done. Again, I'm not trying to complete this whole thing here. I'm just trying to show you what to do. And I'll hit save. That was pretty easy. I made a few changes to my page and I hit save on my text editor. So what do? All I have to do is come back to my web page and hit reload, and I instantly see the changes. Now I have my outside web page. It's not quite done yet, so that's good. But I can edit and change and fix and get it working on my computer without worrying about web hosting and how do I log on to there and how do I upload the file. Get it all working, and then once I get it the way I want, I'll go to my outside web page, copy and paste this code over to it, and I'll see my new changes. What I'm trying to get you to avoid here is this constant upload, change, test, upload, change, test. That just adds an extra step. If you create your web page files on your computer, you can edit it, you can load it into Firefox. All you have to do is hit reload to see your changes and you're off to the races. When you get it the way you want, you upload it to your outside web page. This does another important thing. What is it? It's an automatic backup. If you keep a copy of your files on your computer and a duplicate on the web host, you have a backup of your web page. If you lose your computer, you can get the files from your web page. If your web page gets destroyed for some reason, you have the copy on your computer. It's an automatic backup. So always keep a copy of your lab files on your own computer. When you've tested it and you've got them working, then you upload them to your outside web page. All right, last thing here. Did we finish quiz 1? Oh, look at that. Quiz 1 has a 5. If you recall quiz 1, it had 5 questions. I must have did well on it. I must have got a 5 out of 5. So what happens if I do this? Ouch. I just submitted quiz 1 a second time and I got 0 out of 5. Does that hurt? Absolutely not. You can feel free to retake a quiz, and if you get a lower score, it will not hurt. If I go back to my lesson plan and pull down quiz, I still have a 5 there. This whole thing is designed so you can go back and retake a quiz and try and get a better score. Now, what happens if you don't? Well, it doesn't hurt. High score rules. If at one point you took this quiz and got a 5, that is your score for quiz 1. Doesn't matter if you retake it and got a 3 or a 2, you'll still have that 5. Same thing for the homework. If you go back and retake homework 1 and you happen to get 2 out of 5 instead of 4 out of 5, then your 4 still stands. Especially when you're preparing to take exams, the midterm, the final. Go back and redo the homework. Go back and retry the exercise. Go back and redo the quiz. That's how you study for exams. If you get a lower score, it will not change your overall score. Once you have a 5 here, 5 is your score. I could go back and get a better score here, but if I don't, I'll stick with the 4. So what do I have left to do? As far as lesson 1 is concerned, I got 4 out of 5 on homework 1. I got 6 out of 6 on exercise 1. And I got 5 out of 5 on quiz 1. Should I panic over that one missed homework problem? No. What you have to do is got to keep your average up. At the end of every lesson, I will be sending you out a report saying this is how you did on lesson 1. This is how you did on lesson 2. As long as you keep your percentage completed above 90%, you're in good shape. If your percentage completed is 50%, then you're going to start losing points. So keep those scores fairly high and we'll be happy campers. Before I leave this video, I do want to go ahead and stress that this bar here, when I'm doing lesson 2, is to be completed left to right. You should watch both videos. That's the first thing you can do on lesson 2. After that, go ahead and read lecture 2. And if you haven't caught on yet, there are lots of answers in the lecture that will help you with the homework, will help you with the exercise. Make sure you read the lecture. Also, when you're reading the lecture, there are links and there are input boxes. These lectures are meant to be interactive. I want you to press on it and I want you to look at the code, see what happens on the screen, and connect the two. Well, why did the 34 show up? Why did 331 show up? Look at the code and see what happened. This is executing JavaScript code, and you need to be able to read and analyze JavaScript code and see what happens. Why did the word your age sound up? Why did 34 show up here? You need to be interactive and active on these lessons. If there is a link for you to test something, please click on the link to test it. If there's an input box to test something, please go ahead and do it. And like I say, the biggest reason you want to do this is because at some point, this line of code might be the answer to a homework problem, or this function might be very useful in a programming exercise. You want to read the lectures after watching the videos so you're prepared to do the homework, the quiz, the lab, and so on. Now, once I've watched the videos and read the lecture, then I go on to homework 2. I complete homework 2. Remember, you can submit it 3 or 4 times until you get a very good score. Doesn't matter. I'm never going to penalize you for retaking a homework, I promise. The one thing you do have to do is make sure you get submitted by the deadline. If the deadline for lesson 2 is Monday, August 26th, you've got to make sure you get the homeworks, the exercises, and the quizzes done by that date. Do the lab. Here's an important thing in the lab. I want you to make sure that you put new labs on top of old labs. What does that mean? It means lab 2 should appear above lab 1. Let me go back to my web page and show it to you. Let's say I'm ready to start lab 2. Where do I want to do lab 2? I want to do lab 2 at the top of the web page. Now, why do I want to do lab 2 at the top of the web page? Number one, so my latest code appears at the top and I don't have to scroll down to find it. Number two, when I look at the web page, I don't have to scroll down to see my latest work. If I come back here to my outside web page and hit reload on my web browser, you can see lab 2 is above lab 1. This is extremely important. There are going to be 15, 16 labs in this class. You don't want to have to scroll down past 15 labs to see your latest work down at the bottom. You want your new work, your latest lab assignment, to appear at the top of the screen. So please follow the directions. Put lab 2 above lab 1. Once again, when I'm working on it, I will get it working on my computer I'll go into Firefox, I'll debug it, I'll make sure everything's working, and when it's done on my computer, that's when I go to my outside web host and I copy and paste the code, or I upload the files to my web server, and that's when I'm done with my lab. Boy, my copy and paste skills aren't very good. Copy that code and then move that code over to your web host. And again, back to your lesson plan will take you back to the main screen every time. When I'm finished with all of these things on lesson 2, I will take quiz 2. When I take quiz 2, it will bump me on to lesson 3. Thank you for watching. Get to it. It's time to finish lesson 2. Please pay attention to the deadlines. I just got through telling you, yeah, you can retake the homework, you can retake the quiz, you can retake the exercise as many times as you want to get a better score, but you still have to do it by the deadline, right? If you finish lesson 2 a month from now, it's not going to count towards your score on lesson 2. You've got to get lesson 2 done. So take them as many times as you want, but get them done by the deadline. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the class.